So the next topic would be Stone Age. So Stone Age means this prehistoric times where we use stone for tools. Okay. So the Stone Age is divided into Old Stone Age or New Stone Age or Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic, etc. Okay. So let us read this Stone Age. So Old Stone Age, man has been living in India roughly from 5 lakh BC. He used tools of unpolished, undressed, tough stones which have been found in South India and in Sowan or Sohan River Valley in Pakistan. Paleolithic sites have also been discovered in Kashmir. The chips of stone were pebbles used for hunting, cutting and other purposes. So, what are some places on Indian subcontinent? You will find evidence of people of Stone Age habitations, like places where these Stone Age humans lived. So you will see in South India and this Sohan River area of Pakistan and Kashmir. Okay. So in this period, man barely managed to gather his food and lived on hunting. He had no knowledge of cultivation and house building. So in this Paleolithic period or Old Stone Age, man has no knowledge of cultivation or house building. Okay. So he do not know how to raise crops and he do not know how to build houses. So he used to live on hunting and used to live in caves. This phase is generally continued till 8 lakh BC. So from 5 lakh BC till 8,000 BC, 5 lakh BC to 8,000 BC, humans were like they don't know anything. They are more or less like animals. They used to hunt and lived in cages. Okay. Now moving on. Paleolithic tools which could be as old as 1 lakh BC have been found in Chotanagar Plateau. So this Chotanagar Plateau is this Jharkhand Chhattisgarh region. Such tools belonging to 25,000 BC to 10,000 BC have been found in Kurnool district in Andhra Pradesh. So Kurnool is one of the Paleolithic sites, about 55 kilometers from Kurnool. In association with them, bone implements and animal remains have been also been discovered. Animal remains found in the Belan Valley in the Mirzapur district in Uttar Pradesh show that goats, sheep and cattle were domesticated around 25,000 BC. So another place is Balan in Mirzapur district in UP. Okay, and this also shows that around 25,000 BC we have started domesticating animals. Okay. However, in the earliest Paleolithic phase, man lived on hunting and food gathering. The Puranas speak of people who lived on roots and fruits. Some of these people have been living in the old way in the hills and caves till modern times. So some people, all of the humans living in these primitive ways during Paleolithic period. Later, some people evolved, but some people still continue to live in the old ways even till modern times. The Old Stone Age or Paleolithic culture of India developed in Pleistocene period or Ice Age, which is a geological period. So if you see, you can Google something called geological time scale. So all the time happened on Earth since the birth of the Earth till now has been divided into different time scales. One of it is Pleistocene period. Okay, so you can see some tools here, Paleolithic tools made of stone, hand axes, choppers and cleavers, etc. Okay. This Pleistocene period comes immediately before the geological period called Holocene. Geological period called Holocene, or a recent period in which we live and which began about 10,000 years ago. So after Pleistocene period, now Pleistocene period is also called Ice Age. After this, the next geological period is called Holocene. This is the current ongoing one. It started 10,000 years ago. We do not know when this Pleistocene period exactly began, but human remains associated with stone tools have been dated in East Africa as early as 3.5 million years ago. Okay, so there is an evidence 3.5 million years means 35 lakh years. So you can date humans to that early time. In India, the first human occupation. So in Africa, the earliest humans you can find where in Africa. In India, the first human occupation, as suggested by stone tools, is not earlier than Middle Pleistocene, which perhaps began around 5 lakh years ago. So, if you see around Africa, we can date back the earliest to 35 lakh years. But in India, the earliest we can find of human evidence is 5 lakh. In the Pleistocene period, ice sheets covered a great portion of Earth's surface, particularly in the higher altitudes and their peripheries. But the tropical regions, excepting the mountains, were free from ice. On the other hand, they underwent a period of great rainfall. So you can see here, so higher altitudes, mountain ranges, etc., they were covered in ice. Tropical regions, that means especially the southern peninsula part, is free from ice. So it is one of the reason you can find earliest human evidence mostly in southern part of India. See, this chapter starts with where we are finding the earliest evidence. So in South India. Okay, so because most of the rest of the India is covered in the ice. So they are free from ice and they have also seen great rainfall. So phases in Paleolithic age. The old stone or Paleolithic age in India is divided into 3 phases, according to the nature of the stone tools used by the people and also according to the nature of the change in the climate. The first place is called early or lower Paleolithic period. The second one is called middle Paleolithic period and third one is upper Paleolithic period. So based on the type of the stone tools we are using, we have classified this Paleolithic age into 3, lower, middle and upper. Okay, lower, middle and upper. The lower Paleolithic or early Stone Age, early old Stone Age covers the great part of Ice Age. Its characteristic feature is the use of hand axes and cleavers. So only stones, pure hand axes and cleavers. Most tools are only stone and nothing else. The axes found in India are more or less similar to those of Western Asia, Europe and Africa. Stone tools were used mainly for chopping. The early Stone Age sites were found in valley of river Sowan in Punjab, now in Pakistan. Lower Paleolithic tools have also been found in Balan Valley of Mirzapur district in UP. The Balan sites contain caves and rock shelters which would have served as seasonal camps for human beings. Hand axes have been found in a deposit of the time of the second Himalayan glaciation. In this period, climate became less humid. So, even in the Paleolithic period, the climate of that kept on changing over the periods. The Middle Old Stone Age or Middle Paleolithic industries all are based upon flakes. So, smaller stones, sharp, smaller stones are flakes. These flakes are found in different parts of India and show regional variations. Found in different parts of India show regional. The principal tools are varieties of scrapers made of flakes. We also find a large number of borers and blade-like tools. The Middle Old Stone Age sites in India are found in Sowan Valley. Here we notice a crude pebble industry. In strata contemporary with the third Himalayan glaciation. So Himalayan glaciation has gone in like phases, waves, like they're talking about second Himalayan glaciation, third Himalayan glaciation. So these glacial periods occurred again and again. And so we are seeing different places where we are finding these artifacts. The artifacts of this age are also found at several places on the river Narmada. So you can also find in river Narmada and also at several places south of the Tungabhadra river. The upper Paleolithic phase was less humid. It coincided with the last phase of Ice Age when climate became comparatively warm. In the world context, it is known for the appearance of new flint industries and of men of the modern type. in India, we notice the use of the blades and burins, which have been found in Andhra, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Bhopal, and Chota Nagpur plateau. Caves and rock shelters for use by human beings in upper Paleolithic phase have been discovered at Bhimbetka. So, see here also given the places. Like see, what is an example of early or lower Paleolithic site? Sovan River Valley in Punjab. Okay. And Bilan Valley in Mirzapur. These are like early or lower Paleolithic sites. Now, what is an example of middle Paleolithic site? The example is river around the river Narmada and river Tungabhadra. Okay. Now, what are the sites that are associated with upper Paleolithic period? So, Andhra, Karnataka, places found in Andhra, Karnataka, Bhopal, Chota Nagpur plateau. Okay, and also Bhimbetka in Madhya Pradesh. Okay, so Bhimbetka, 40 kilometers south of Bhopal, hand axes and cleavers, blades, scrapers, and few barrels have been found there. An upper Paleolithic assemblage. An upper Paleolithic assemblage characterized by massive flakes, blades, barrels, and scrapers have also been found in advanced levels of the Gujarat dunes. So, here simply put, the technology of stone tools keeps on improving. Initially, they were like crude in early phase. In middle phase, they are somewhat more efficient and smaller. They are scrapers. In upper, now it is a well-developed industry. Like see, flint means some type of advanced stones. So, as the time is passing, we are getting more advanced with our tools. Okay. Now the size also increasing, okay, and diversity of tools have also been increasing. Okay. It is difficult to estimate the beginnings of the Paleolithic age. It is said that in the world context, humans remains associated with stone tools are as old as 3.5 million years. Okay, but it seems that for several stages, the modern human Homo sapiens first appeared in the upper Paleolithic period. So there were like many human species. Okay, Neanderthals, etc. But the modern humans, Homo sapiens, they were appeared in this upper Paleolithic period. Okay. It would thus appear that Paleolithic sites are found in practically all parts of the country, except the alluvial plains of the Indus and the Ganga. So, except these plain areas, which are at the time were very dense forest and could not be occupied. We have already seen in the previous class, when we are discussing this geography class, that only when people found metals and tools that are able to cut down the forest, they were able to go into these plain areas of Indus and Ganga. Okay. The late Stone Age. The upper Paleolithic age came to an end with the end of the Ice Age around 8000 BC. So, this Paleolithic period on a whole, it started around like in India, if we speak 5 lakh, and it is ending around 8000 BC. And the climate became warm and dry. So, during this Paleolithic period, climate is mostly cold and humid. It is full of ice and the water in the atmosphere is high. Now, by the time of the end of the Paleolithic period, now Earth became more dry, more warm. Okay? So you can see Mesolithic tools, they become much smaller than Paleolithic period. Okay. So climatic changes have brought about changes in the fauna and flora. So flora means plants, fauna means animals, and made it possible for human beings to move to new areas. Since then, there have not been any major changes in climatic conditions. From 8000 BC began an intermediary stage in Stone Age culture, which is called the Mesolithic age. So, after the Paleolithic age, the next phase is Mesolithic, but it is an intermediary stage only, because after this intermediary stage of Mesolithic, we are moving to Neolithic. Okay, so it intervened as a transitional phase between Paleolithic age and the Neolithic or New Stone Age. So between the old Stone Age and the new Stone Age, there is an intermediary phase called Mesolithic age. It is also called the late Stone Age. Okay. In the case of India, it started about 8000 BC and continued up to 4 lakh BC. The characteristic tools of the late Stone Age are microliths. So here in this Mesolithic period, they are using a stones called microliths. Okay, micro means smaller. Okay, the late Stone Age or this Mesolithic period are found in good numbers around Chota Nagpur Plateau, central India, and also south of the river Krishna. Okay, so you can say more or less Paleolithic sites found throughout India except the plains areas of Indus and Ganga. And this Mesolithic period you can find in the central India and south of the river Krishna. Okay. So far, only a few finds of the late Stone Age have been dated scientifically, but there is no doubt these findings preceded the Neolithic age. It is interesting to note that on the northern spurs of the Vindhyas in Balan Valley, all the three phases of the Paleolithic followed by the Mesolithic and then by the Neolithic have been found in sequence. So in the north side of the Vindhyas, like this Balan Valley in UP, you can see the clear development of humans in three phases, okay? Like Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic. The Neolithic Stone Age. Although in the world context, the new Stone Age, so you can see the difference between, like see, old Stone Age tools. See here, very crude, not very developed, very rudimentary, older technology. You can see here, now by Mesolithic, technology became developed and diverse. For various uses, we have various stone tools, but they were still smaller. Okay, still smaller. See how the tools developed by modern times. Now, they were sharper, efficient, and also larger. Okay, based on the demand, they are different sizes. So, although in the world context, the new Stone Age, the new Stone Age much began earlier in 7 lakh BC. Neolithic settlements in Indian subcontinent are not older than 6 lakh BC, 6000 BC. So, in some other parts of the world, people started developing these tools at an early stage, but it took some time for the people in India, and they have developed these tools somewhat later. Some settlements found in South India and Eastern India are as late as 1000 BC. The people of this age used tools and implements of polished stone. So, what is the most defining feature here of Neolithic? It is polished stone. They particularly used stone axes, which have been found in large numbers throughout the greater part of the country. This cutting tool was put to various uses by the people, and in ancient legends, Parashurama became an important axe-wielding hero. Okay? Based on the types of axes used by Neolithic settlers, we notice three important areas of Neolithic settlements. So, Neolithic settlements are found in three important areas. One is Valley of Kashmir. One of the areas found to be in the north, found in the north in the Valley of Kashmir at a place called Burjahom. So, where is Burjahom? UPSC can ask mapping. Burjahom is in Kashmir. Okay, it is 20 km from Srinagar. The Neolithic people lived there on a plateau in pits and probably had a hunting and fishing economy. They did not seem to have been acquainted with agriculture or domestication of animals. They used not only polished tools of stones, but what is more interesting, they used numerous tools and weapons made of bone. Okay, stone tools and bone tools. The only other place which has yielded considerable bone implements in India is Chirand, which is 40 km west of Patna on the northern side of Ganga. These bone implements have been found in late Neolithic settlements in an area with about 100 centimeter rainfall. The settlement became possible because of the open land available on account of the joining together of four rivers, Ganga, Son, Gandak, and Gagra at this place. So, we are talking about this Chirand in modern day, roughly Bihar. Okay, it is on the northern side of Ganga. And why this Chirand became possible for humans to settle at this time period? Because land became available because now 4 rivers joined around this region. Ganga, Son, all of the other rivers are tributaries of Ganga. Son, Gandak and Gagra. So these three are tributaries of Ganga. So now they have created somewhat plain area in this region. The people of Burjahom used coarse grey pottery. So we have this pottery in this Neolithic period. Okay? It is interesting that Burjahom domestic dogs were buried with their masters in their graves. So in this Burjahom place in this Kashmir, so when an owner dies, domestic dogs were buried with their graves. So it is somewhat confusing here. Here it is given domestic. They did not seem to acquainted with agriculture or domestication of animals. It is given. So I'm leaving it here. Pit dwelling and the placing of domestic dogs in the graves, maybe in later period they developed. Okay? The pit dwelling and placing of domestic dogs in the graves of the master do not seem to be the practice with the Neolithic people in any other part of India. The earliest date for Burjahom is 2400 BC, but the bones recovered from Chirand cannot be dated earlier than 1600 BC, and they possibly belong to a stone copper phase. The second group of Neolithic people lived in South India. So one group is north in Burjahom in Kashmir and Chirand in Bihar. Another one is South India, south of Godavari River. They usually settled on the tops of granite hills. So usually settle on the top of granite hills, plateaus near the river banks. They used stone axes and also some kind of stone blades. Fire-baked earthen figurines suggest that they kept a large number of cattle. They possessed cattle, sheep and goats. They used rubbing stone querns, which shows that they were acquainted with the art of producing grains. The third area from which Neolithic tools have been recovered is in the hills of Assam. So first is north, second is south, and third one is northeast, Assam later. So here, these Burjahom people does not know much about agriculture, but if you see, so here, this region in South India, they are acquainted with the art of producing grains. Okay, so they are somewhat aware of agriculture. The third area from which Neolithic have been recovered in the hills of Assam. Neolithic tools are also found in the Garo hills in the Meghalaya on the northeastern frontier of India. We have no means, so in Assam and Meghalaya we can find Neolithic tools. We have no means of dating them. In addition to this, we also find a number of Neolithic settlements on the northern spur of Vindhyas in Mirzapur and Allahabad districts of Uttar Pradesh. We already know in Mirzapur and Balan Valley we have Neolithic sites. Neolithic sites in Allahabad district are noted for the cultivation of rice in 6th millennium BC. Those found in Beluchistan also seem to be fairly old. Some of these important Neolithic sites are those with the Neolithic layers that have been excavated, including, so now they are giving a list of Neolithic sites. Maski, Brahmagiri, Halur, Kodekal, Sanganakallu, Narsipur, T. Narsipur, Takkalakota, all of these are in Karnataka. Okay, so Maski, Brahmagiri, Halur, Kodekal, Sanganakallu, T. Narsipur, Takkalakota, all are in Karnataka. Payyamapalli in Tamil Nadu, Piklihal and Uttanur in Andhra Pradesh. So in south, we know there are Neolithic sites. So UPSC usually likes to ask this mapping. Maski, Brahmagiri are in Karnataka, Halur in Karnataka, Kodekal in Karnataka, Sanganakallu in Karnataka, T. Narsipur, Takkalakota in Karnataka, Payyamapalli in Tamil Nadu, Piklihal and Uttanur are in Andhra Pradesh. Then in Neolithic phase seems to have covered the period from around 2500 BC to 1000 BC, although the earliest scientifically determined date from Utnur is 2300 BC. The Neolithic settlers in Pickley Hall were cattle herders. They domesticated cattle, sheep, goats, etc. They set up seasonal camps surrounded by cow pens made with posts and stakes. In these enclosures, they accumulated cow dung. Then the entire camping ground was put to fire and cleared for camping in the next season. Both ash mounds and habitation sites have been discovered in Pickley Hall in Andhra Pradesh. The later Neolithic settlers were agriculturists who lived in circular or rectangular houses made of mud and reed. It is held that primitive people living in circular houses owned property in common. In any case, these Neolithic people led a settled life. They produced ragi and horse ground. Their polished tools also included microlith blades. Since in the Neolithic phase, several settlements came to be acquainted with the cultivation of cereals and the domestication of animals, they needed pots in which they could store their food grain and milk. They further needed pots for cooking and eating. Hence, handmade pottery is found in early stage. Later, they used foot wheels to turn up pots. Neolithic. So initially it was handmade pottery. Now later they found foot wheels to make pots. Neolithic cells have been found in the Orissa hill areas. And it is likely that rice cultivation and small scale settlements began in this part of the country quite early. The period between 9000 BC and 3000 BC saw a remarkable process of technology in Western Asia because the people developed the arts of cultivation, weaving, building houses, domestication of animals. But the Neolithic age in Indian subcontinent began around 6th millennium BC. 6th millennium. So around 6000 BC. Some of the important crops including rice, wheat, barley. So which crops you can find in the Neolithic time period? Rice, wheat, barley came to be cultivated in the subcontinent in this period. A few villages appeared in this part of the world. It appears that people were now on the threshold of civilization. The people of the Stone Age suffered from one great limitation. Since they had to depend entirely on the tools and weapons made of stone, they could not found settlements far away from the hilly areas. Because from hills they need this stone. They could settle down only in the hilly river valleys. Further, even with great effort, they could not produce more than what they needed for their bare subsistence. Okay, so this is how the Stone Age period went. So it transformed from old Stone Age to new Stone Age, or Paleolithic to Neolithic through a transformative phase called Mesolithic. So stone technology transformed. Slowly we discovered domestication of animals and agriculture. By the end of the Neolithic period, we have found agriculture. So where you can find these sites? So Paleolithic or Neolithic throughout India you can find, except this plains of the Indus and Ganga. Okay, so next chapter is about stone copper phase. Okay.